Good afternoon. We are here at the Body Archive Gallery. My name is Michele Capozzi. I'm happy to introduce you Efrain Gonzales. He's a photographer, and we have these pictures here, and we are doing this shot for the Vampire Lounge. And the gallery is run by Steven Speliotis, and Efrain Gonzales is a great guy that I know for a long time, and I have some questions for you. Okay, how long did you covering the underground scene in New York?
I first came back to New York in 1975 and I began driving a taxi cab. So I began driving all over the city. So in 75, 76, and 77, I began driving down the streets here. I would drive like leather daddies to the bars. And that's when I began actually seeing the clubs, the scene, as it was beginning to gel in the mid-70s. Then I began photographing more street traffic, taxi cabs, night scenes at night, developing a technique of shooting with Tri-X film and developing it at home. Then in the 80s, I began attending more esoteric stuff, going to the Eulenspiegel Society meetings. And in 1982, there was a meeting of the Eulenspiegel Society at a place called the Hellfire Club on 9th Avenue and 14th Street. They held a meeting there, and at the end of the meeting, they said, you can stay at the Hellfire Club, it'll be opening up, and they're having a wedding party here tonight. So I began seeing people walking around in their underwear, completely naked, getting spanked, and it was the most incredible start of a wonderful relationship with this neighborhood in 1982. And I've been stalking the streets here with a camera, just photographing the lights, the angles, the people, the buildings, the atmosphere, just trying to capture what this area gave to the people who came down here.
Focus on taking a certain picture. What is that you are trying to say with it?
What is the picture trying to say? It's basically, this is it. This is the moment. What was Ouija trying to say when he photographed a dead body shot by gangsters? What was Eric Solomon trying to say when he photographed diplomats conspiring to give away a country? You're capturing the expression of the people. You're capturing a moment of people living their lives. And you know, sometimes you go to a convention, you're trying to sell your real pictures, and somebody has a booth next to you, and they've got a picture of these beautiful models in $300 corsets, in 8-inch high heels, with muscle boy submissives bowing at their feet. And of course, this is what people want to buy because, oh, it's a wonderful fantasy. You know, a beautiful dominatrix looking like a $300 an hour model with muscle boys bowing at her feet. I photograph fat old ladies being fisted by, you know, black kids, and that's the way it is. But it's not the fantasy. People want to have the beautiful fantasy, but I photograph the way it is, and I'm just trying to save that moment, because there are times when you're doing that scene and you're more alive in that scene than at any time of your life. You can have a young lady who is being viciously caned, and she's counting each stroke, and she's more alive at that moment than at any time of her life, because she is pushing her limits to such a depth that it's never been done before in her life.
And actually, we would like to have a look at your pictures now. I mean, let's see, you know, so if you explain the story, say some background.
I'll give you a little guided tour of my photos.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. Let's start.
This is an interesting composite. This, you can see in this shot the old brick buildings, the fire hydrants that are old and twisted. They're hit by God knows how many trucks. The West Side Highway in the distance. And here you have a couple of girls just walking up the street. You know, the expression of laughter on one's face, the long skirts, the dresses, and it's just a nice photograph of just the girls walking up the street enjoying their lives. And if you didn't know they were sex workers, you wouldn't know. You know, just girls just want to have fun. Girls just being themselves, just relating to each other. This shot is very nice one. This is a wide angle shot, And what's nice about it is you can see the length and depth of the West Side Highway, the cars underneath the street, and of course the cobblestone streets leading into the West Side Highway, and a gaggle of girls on the street, and you can see they're just joshing and walking around and schmoozing, and some of the girls are leaning on the walls, and they're not really like, there's no business around, so they're just like just talking and having a good time. So you can see, like, there was a community out there. There was a sense of community of these people. They knew each other. They would see each other time and time again. Perhaps they knew each other socially off the streets. Who knows? This is one of my favorite photographs. This is a portrait of Frances. She was one of the sex workers along the West Side Highway in the series that I did back in 1986. She's posed on the street, and this is a really interesting picture. You can see like the cobblestone streets behind her, the old buildings, and she's posed with an expression on her face that basically encompasses what she feels. I mean, you can see, like, boredom, she's weary, she's seen it all in that face, where she's posing probably God knows how many times before for photographers, street people, and things like that. So here she is posing for me, but giving me such a look on her face that says so much about the life on the street. And this was an interesting portrait. This young lady was in the shadows. This is one of the side streets just off the West Side Highway, and she's standing among all this decay and debris. You have grass coming out of the streets, you have the cracked sidewalks, you have old cars parked on the street, you've got the old signposts that are leaning because they're bent and twisted, and she's just standing there. You can see the look on her face and her pose, her attitude. She's just trying to get by in life, and here she is just trying to survive in this old, beat up, weather-borne neighborhood. And this is another portrait of Frances. This was at another time when she was very sexily dressed. She had on a very short black skirt, high heels, strap-on shoes, and she loved to pose for the camera. She would strut up and down, baring her chest, throwing her blonde hair, and here she is on a car. There's somebody else sitting next to her. There's trash on the street, and you can see behind her a Winnebago parked under the West Side Highway. So here she is just strutting her stuff on an old street in Manhattan.
But there is one club, one restaurant, or one thing that you really miss most, or one situation.
The Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club was a really great space. Before '86, it was really wide open. You had glory holes in the back. People would do fisting scenes right there on the floor. I did a scene where I was fucking a transsexual right there on the floor, and people were watching and applauding. You could get blowjobs in the back.
Really?
You could get flogged. You could get spanked. Annie Sprinkle would come by and piss on people, and that's the way it was. Then, in I think around '86, the city stepped in and shut them down for several months. They reopened as the Vault, and they got rid of the glory holes. They got rid of the back rooms. You could do fistings and some light, fun stuff, but you couldn't really do the all-out stuff. That was prohibited and banned and frowned upon.
But anyhow, your pictures are here, the proof that this world existed, these people existed, and these streets were what you described. Thank you very much, Efrain. Thank you, Steven Speliotis, for the Body Archive. And the Vampire Lounge is very happy to have done this interview. And I am Michele Capozzi, the pornologist. Thanks very much. Thanks. Give me a hug. You really deserve it.